Hi, everyone. Samantha Silvius from OPI here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I just want to let you guys know that it's OPI's 40th anniversary in 2021, and that's pretty exciting. So, to celebrate that, we are taking you on a tour of our hometown. And OPI's hometown is Los Angeles. For spring, we're going to make our first tour stop in Hollywood. Back in 1981, a wonderful man named George Shaver traveled to Hollywood to take over a denture supply company called Odontorium Products Incorporated. And that's, if you can put two and two together, is what OPI originally stood for. Now it stands for our love for color because color is the answer. So today I want to take a look at this wonderful spring 2021 collection. Also, we want to do some really fun nail art. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. We have our awesome education manager, Sigourney Nunez, in the comments. She'll help you out. Okay, so let's take a good look at this wonderful spring collection. Um, we first have our first color is Susie Calls the Paparazzi. We have I'm an Extra. We have Movie Buff, Hollywood and Vibe, Behind the Scenes. I think the names are the funniest parts. We have Destined to be a Legend, Rated PG, Oh You Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce. Got a quadruple threat there. We have award for Best Nails goes to. We have our hero shade, I'm Really an Actress, which is actually a reinvention of the classic shade, I'm Not Really a Waitress. We kind of gave her a little bit of a glow up. We have 15 Minutes of Flame. And finally, because it's award season, of course, Emmy, have you seen Oscar? All 12 of these beautiful shades are available in nail lacquer, infinite shine, and gel color, and 6 of these shades are available in powder perfection. So let's get started with some awesome nail art. I just want to start out with talking about my favorite part about Hollywood, and that is the Walk of Fame. In 2017, I was given the opportunity to go to Hollywood for my first time. And as a small town Ontario, Canada girl, going to Hollywood was so exciting. And I made sure that within my 24 hours of being there, that I could hit up the Walk of Fame. And I also put my hands in those grubby handprints. You know, I don't think that would be necessarily good for COVID, but I did it then. So this is my first nail art that we're going to learn. We're going to do a cool French manicure, a little twist on the French manicure with some Hollywood stars. And for this nail look, I'm going to start with a Hollywood collection shade, Susie Calls the Paparazzi. And then for my stars, I'm going to be using the other Hollywood shade, Behind the Scenes. Okay, so let's get started. Our first thing that we have to do is have a beautifully dry prepped nail. Now, why we do dry prep? We do dry prep because we want to make sure that all of our product is going to stick to the nail. Making sure that the nail is completely dry by not using any oil or emollients or anything, any cuticle remover, that will make sure that all of our products would adhere properly. So I've done my dry prep, I've applied my Bond-Aid, and I've also applied a coat of our Stay Classic base coat. Now, a lot of people are wondering, is that new? Nope. This is our same classic gel color base coat with a new costume. She had a costume change backstage. So to start out, I'm going to be using our first shade, Susie Calls the Paparazzi. And with this shade, I'm going to be using the bottle brush to create a French manicure tip. I've shaken the bottle for a minute. And I'm, again, like I said, going to be using the bottle brush. I like to do my French manicure a little bit different. So I'm going to start in the middle and use my bottle brush and kind of make a little wiggle here and brush down. And that's going to kind of judge the width of my French manicure. Then I'm going to come along and do small little movements up the sides. And depending on the client's nail shape, we want to make sure that we're kind of going along with that. So if a client has more of a square nail shape, you're going to want to make a more straight French Now, my client here has a more almond or round nail. So I'm going to kind of curve up her or their French tip here. Just kind of cleaning up the edges with my bottle brush. And there's my French tip. I'm going to be curing this for 30 seconds in my dual cure LED lamp. I like opacity, to be completely honest. I like the idea of having 2 coats. This is my cooking show, Facebook Live cooking show. I already have this ready to go. Now, I like opacity, and I think this is a really good opacity. So I did 2 coats of Susie Calls the Paparazzi, curing each for 30 seconds. And then my next step is to do my stars. Now, I like to use the OPI Expert Touch Removal Wraps as a little palette, because on the reverse side, there's a little cotton pad and perfect space right here to put a dollop of my color. I'm also going to be using a detail brush. This detail brush right here is perfect to do small lines or small stars, in fact. So taking our next shade, Behind the Scenes, after I've shaken it for a minute, I'm going to put a little blop on there. I like to also use professional terms like blop. So I'm going to put a little bit right there. You don't need too much. Sometimes I end up putting too much on my palette, and what ends up happening is I'm wasting a lot of product. So right now I have my little dot right here, and I'm going to take my nail and my detail brush, come right in the middle here, and I'm going to kind of load up my brush without having a bead at the end. So see how my brush is fully loaded of product, but it doesn't have a bead on the end. And then I'm going to, I guess, randomly place some little stars. I do a line for the top, little block, do a line for the side, one down, and another one down. And I kind of touch up maybe if I got a little too thick there. And then before I move on to my next star, I like to flash cure. I like that star like that. I like to flash cure. And what flash curing is curing the product for 15 seconds. And I'm curing that in my OPI LED lamp while covering up both my brush and my little palette here. I don't want it curing. I cure for 15 seconds because I want to semi-cure it. So I don't need to fully cure it yet, but I don't want it to go anywhere. Or if I happen to touch it with my next star, I don't want it to turn into a blob. So after that 15 seconds, I'm going to bring my nail back here into the center, and I'm going to take some more of Behind the Scenes, and I'm going to do some more stars, just like I said, kind of all around the tip. First doing smaller ones, maybe one just kind of fell off, the little shooting star that fell off the edge here. There we go, kind of filling up this spot. And see how, because these ones are really, really small, I don't need to flash cure because I'm not really afraid of it becoming a blob. But this one that I'm creating now, I definitely am going to flash cure this one because it's pretty close. We don't want to make sure that we just want to make sure that it's going to stay exactly where I'm putting it. Just like that. So I'm going to flash cure this again for 15 seconds. Covering up. And what I really like to do with the palette here especially is that I like to kind of put the brush in the center and lightly push my finger, my gloved finger here, and kind of twist a little bit, just a little bit, not too much pressure, because I don't want to fray any of these bristles. So I'm keeping my bristles nice and still here. So putting that aside and bring back my nail tip here and finish off this side using a little bit more of Behind the Scenes. Come over to the side here. Got a little more room for some stars. Just like that. And I filled up the tip pretty nice. I feel like that's a good start there. So now, because I'm completely done my design, I want to make sure that this is all fully cured. So I'm going to cure this for 30 seconds in my LED dual cure lamp. And after that, I'm going to be applying one coat of our Stay Shiny top coat. And like before, the Stay Shiny top coat is the same as our classic top coat, but it does have a new costume. And after I've applied one coat of our Stay Shiny top coat. I have our beautifully starred French tip. So we have obviously our negative space here. Susie calls the paparazzi, and our beautiful behind the scenes stars. So that's a little taste of our Walk of Fame on our nails. Why not? Isn't that perfect for the Hollywood collection? So in between my nail art, I really like to cleanse my brush. So I'm just going to use this palette that we were using before. And I'm going to be using a little bit of our NAS 99. Let me get in there, NAS 99. And this is our 99% isopropyl alcohol. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a little spritz on the center cotton. And in the same way that I did before, I'm going to lay my bristles flat using my finger, and I'm going to roll it. This is the easiest way that I have found to cleanse my brushes in between nail arts or in between using colors. So there we go. Now I have a beautifully cleaned, crisp nail art brush. So next, I want to do my palm trees. That was another one of my favorite parts and that I was kind of looking forward to say the least. Again, in Ontario, Canada, the only palm trees that you will see are the ones that are in your living room. So it was really exciting to be driving down the streets or the city, the highways, and seeing palm trees. It almost seems like unreal a little bit, right? So I'm going to show you how to do this really easy marble palm tree look. So again, like I had before, I'm going to use my dry prep method. And then after I've fully dry prepped, I'm going to apply Bond-Aid, and then I've applied a coat of my Stay Classic base coat. Now this nail is all ready, and I'm going to be using the colors Movie Buff. I'm going to be using Hollywood and Vibe. I'm going to be using a little bit of I'm an Extra. And then for our palm leaves, I'm going to be using one of my favorites, rated PG. Not only for the shade name, but also because I am obsessed with green. And green is actually one of the top trends of 2021. We're looking at a lot of green and yellow in fashion. So it's really cool to see green coming through in nail art. So I'm first going to be taking Movie Buff. And with Movie Buff, I'm going to be polishing on one coat of this, just in a 3-stroke method, and always making sure to cap the free edge here. This is a beautiful, beautiful light pink, and I'm really excited for this shade for springtime. So I'm going to cure this for 30 seconds in my LED dual cure lamp. And before I apply my second coat, I'm going to bring this guy over here. Now, to create the marble look that I want, we using Hollywood and Vibe and I'm an Extra, I want to apply another coat of Movie Buff. But instead of curing it and then applying the other two colors, I'm going to leave the Movie Buff coat wet. And that's going to make it easier for my two other shades to marble into it. Now, I know that a lot of people like to use detailing brushes or nail art brushes when we are doing a marble, but I'm going to show you how to use the bottle brush. Sometimes using the bottle brush makes it simple and easy to do nail art. So first I'm going to be taking let's use Hollywood and Vibe first. This Hollywood and Vibe shade is a nice, I like to call it baby shower pink. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. So I'm going to set this aside. I really want to show you what I'm doing here. So when I'm taking my bristles out of the bottle, I'm really like making sure that there's not a lot of product on it. Do you know what I mean? There's barely any product. Definitely not enough to polish an entire nail. But when I'm putting the shade into my Movie Buff, it's going to be nice and sheer. I'm going to do 2 lines. So I'm going to come across from the left and kind of swoop up, and I'm going to flip my bristles and do the same again from left to right. Now, I'm doing left to right, obviously, because I'm right-handed. If you were left-handed, you could do left to right, up to down, whatever you feel like doing. So next I'm going to be taking, again, not curing, next I'm going to be taking the shade I'm an Extra. And in the same fashion like I did with Hollywood and Vibe, I'm gonna take the majority of the product off. Just a little bit is on there. And I'm going to do, let's do 3 lines this time. So I'm gonna do one, oh, that's a little too much product, Sam. That's okay. So then I'm gonna do again, like I did before, kind of swooping up here, and then I'll swoop up here and flip my brush and swoop just a little bit more. Now, when I'm looking at this, I don't really like how thick this part of the stripe is. So I'm going to wipe off some more of the polish on the bottle. And that's a really, really dry brush that I'm going to go over my line one more time. And see how it just kind of spread that section out a little bit, kind of makes it a little bit more marbled, just like that. And once I'm content with the way that my marble looks, I'm going to cure that for 30 seconds in my LED dual cure lamp. Now, when I'm doing detailed nail art, sometimes I really like to wipe off the inhibition layer. The inhibition layer is that tacky, sticky layer that's left over after we've applied even our top coat. And what that is actually the residue left over from the chemical reaction between the polish and the lamp. So it's really, really nice that it makes sure that everything is adhering. But when I'm doing detailed nail art looks, I really want to make sure that this is a nice, clean surface. So I'm going to be taking a lint-free nail art or a lint-free wipe and my NAS 99. And I'm going to, with 2 spritzes there, nothing crazy, I'm going to wipe the surface of my nail. And that's going to remove that tacky layer without actually affecting the nail polish that we had cured already. So in order to do my palm leaves, I'm going to be using another Expert Touch nail remover wrap. And again, with the flip side here, I'm going to be taking the shade Rated PG, and I'm going to be putting a little blob. And always make sure that you are shaking the bottles for 1 minute. You want to make sure everything is nice and evenly distributed inside of those bottles to make sure that there's no streakiness, there's no patching. We just want to make sure everything is looking as opaque as possible. So with my detailing brush, I really love using a detailing brush. I think that's my favorite thing to use for nail art. It's very versatile, and it really depends on yourself. Whatever type of nail art that you like doing, find a brush that works best for you. So I'm going to be loading up my bristles here. Again, I don't want a big blob like that on the end. I want to load up the bristles without making them have a bead like an acrylic would. I want to make sure that that line is going to be nice, even, and smooth. Do a little test line on the side here. So I'm going to do 2 palm leaves. I'm going to do one here. You can place them wherever you'd like. I'm going to do one on the top right. So I'm going to tilt up my hand just a little bit because, you know, if my client's hand, I could move my client's hand all around. So I'm going to move my tip a little bit too. And I'm going to be taking a little bit of Rated PG, and I'm going to do a swipe down and kind of heavy pressure and then up, heavy pressure and up. And what that's going to do is make sure that you have the thickest at the top, and then you're kind of spreading the product out up, just like that. See how I'm creating really, really easy, you know, palm leaves, just like that. And I'm going to flash cure this again for 15 seconds because I think I want to do another one. I think, you know, sometimes while you're doing nail art, it's really easy to get carried away. I do get carried away a lot. But I think filling that space and making sure that there's, you know, a good use of your nails space. It really depends on the client's nail itself. You know, if someone has quite smaller nails, you might only have room for 1 palm tree. But these nails on my client here are pretty big. I would say that they could use a 2nd palm tree or a 2nd palm leaf. So maybe instead of doing another one on this side, I could even it out, bring it down, and do one kind of in the middle on the left-hand side here. So again, just like I would with a client, I'm going to tilt the nail just to the right side a little bit, again, because I'm right-handed. If I was left-handed, then I would tilt it the opposite way. Do whatever works best for you. So taking some of my Rated PG, I'm going to come just like I did with heavier pressure to light pressure, heavy pressure to light pressure, and just kind of creating those leaves. So you would see like that obvious pool of product that's kind of getting created in the side there, but that's okay because that would be the center of our palm tree. And I think I like that. I think that's a really nice use of space there. So I'm going to cure that for 30 seconds in my LED dual cure lamp. And while that's curing, I'm going to be taking, again, like I did before, my removal wrap, and I'm going to cleanse my brush. So I'm going to take my NAS 99 and my removal wrap and give it a little spritz right in the center. Two little spritzes is good. And again, placing my brush down in the center, using my finger and rolling the product off. Sometimes I see, you go and get it all off like I would on my makeup brushes. Maybe I should be kinder to my makeup brushes. That's okay. I'm kind to my nail art brushes. That's what matters in this case, right? So I'm rolling and pulling, and then my nail art brush is nice and clean and ready to go for our next look. But after I've cured for 30 seconds, I have finalized my nail art look with a coat of our Stay Shiny Gel Color Top Coat. And we have a beautiful set of palm trees. And I guess maybe let's think of this as a beautiful Santa Monica sunset with some palm trees. Oh, I can just picture it now. And I'm looking out my window and there's no leaves on the trees and it's really gray. So this is going to make me feel a little bit better. So our next nail art look is one of my favorites. And one of the things that I really always think about when it comes to Hollywood is the ocean. I know the ocean isn't like on Hollywood Boulevard or anything, but that's one thing that I really associate with California, LA in general, is the ocean. So for this nail art look, I'm going to be using both gel color and powder perfection. So for the gel color portion, I'm going to be using the shade Destined to Be a Legend as my base. Then for the nail art portion, I'm going to be using the shade Oh You Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce. And then I'm going to be bringing in the powder perfection in both the shades. I'm going to show them the containers are a little big for my camera view here. So I'm going to bring the shades here. I'm going to be using powder perfection in both So You Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce. And I'm also going to be using powder perfection in Award for Best Nails Goes To. Okay, so this is a little bit of what we like to call service innovation. So it's not necessarily the way that we are traditionally doing it, but let's add in a little bit of pizzazz, add a little bit of spice, if you will. So let's get started. First thing, as always, is a dry prepped nail right here. So I've done a dry prep. I've used my Bond-Aid and I've applied one coat of our Stay Classic Gel Color Base Coat. That's going to make sure that all of my nail art that all of my polish that I'm putting on here, my two color coats and my top coat is going to adhere perfectly. So the first step is to do 2 coats of Destined to Be a Legend. This is a beautiful kind of ice gray blue, and I'm really enjoying this shade as a transition from winter into spring. I'm going to be applying this in my 3-stroke method, as always, just making sure that I'm getting all of the edges, making sure that I'm not flooding into the sidewalls, and I'm always capping the free edge. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most is the transition shades like Destined to Be a Legend, and let's say even Oh You Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce. Though this shade seems to be a little bit more of a purpley shade, it's that gray tone, that muted tone that's going to allow these shades to be transitional from winter into the spring spring season. So after 2 coats of Destined to Be a Legend and 1 cat hair, excuse me, mister, this is what we're left with. And this is a beautiful, beautiful shade. So what I'm going to do in order to do my powder perfection nail art is I'm going to be applying and curing 1 coat of our gel color Stay Shiny top coat. So just like any other one of our top coats, we're going to be applying this all over the nail. It's really, really, really important, everyone, that every single inch of this nail is covered in top coat, capping the free edge, making sure, because if we leave anything, it's going to, this part of our nail art is going to be mattified. And I don't want that. I want I want this to be super shiny and for our powder perfection to be the texture. So I'm going to cure this for 30 seconds. I got to change it from 15 to 30. There we go. The nice part about our LED light is that you can change the times from 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to 60 seconds. So you got all the opportunity there. So for this part of my nail art, I'm going to be using some random tools, I suppose. I'm going to be using a plastic spoon from the kitchen. I'm also going to be using an Expert Touch removal wrap as my palette and my detailing brush. So let's set my spoon aside. I don't need that right now, but I'm going to be taking my Hollywood Shade, Oh You Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce. After shaking it for a minute, I'm going to be putting a little blop right there on my nail art palette. And let's bring over our cured Destined to Be a Legend. Now that I'm all prepped with my nail art tools. This is the most important part. I'm going to be taking a lint-free wipe and some NAS 99 right here. And what we need to do is completely remove the inhibition layer. So I'm going to load up my nail art wipe with the NAS 99, and I'm going to make sure that this nail is completely cleansed of its inhibition layer. Remember, the inhibition layer is that tacky layer that is left behind after you've cured your polish. Making sure that I'm going all the way around. If this was my person, I would be scrubbing all around in the sidewalls and the cuticle area to make sure that there's nothing left. So see how it still remains shiny, but it's not sticky. But just for safe measure, because, you know, maybe I have a little bit of paranoia, I'm going to be taking another lint-free nail art wipe, and this one's dry. And I'm going to kind of press and scrub. Can you hear the squeak? Anybody hear that squeak? And that's going to make sure that there is nothing left on this nail. Now, to do the nail art, this is super fun, and I'm really excited to share this with you. I'm going to be taking my nail art palette with OU Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce, and my nail art brush, my detail brush, my favorite one here. And I'm going to load up my bristles, just like I have before, making sure that there's not a huge glob, but my bristles are full. And I'm going to do 3 ocean waves, let's call them. So I'll do one kind of here on the side, thick, and then lighter pressure, like that. I think that's good. Let's do one kind of down the center. So I'm going to tilt the nail a little bit, just like I would tilt my client's hand. And I'll do kind of heavy pressure from the top left and bring it to the center. And then I'm going to connect that from the bottom. For this, I'm going to flip my hand and flip my brush using my pinky as my anchor here. And I'm going to come from the bottom, heavy to light pressure, get some more product, heavy to light pressure, and then kind of join those two together there. And then on the side here, let's do one here, thick to light pressure, and then from bottom up, and kind of clean up my edge there. There we go, just like that. And I think I need a little bit more product in the center. We don't want it to be completely dry per se, but we don't need it to be a glob, right? So there we go. And after I'm kind of satisfied with my design here, I'm going to get my powder perfection. I'm going to be using, like I said, my OU Sing, Dance, Act, and Produce. And I'm going to be using Award for Best Nails Goes To. And because I'm going to assume that I'm going to make a mess, I'm going to take a little Tupperware lid and put my nail tip right in my Tupperware lid, just like that. Okay? Oh dear. Oh, hang on, little tip. Hang on. She's spinning. Oh my goodness, there we go. I'm ready, I'm prepared. Then we're gonna take our plastic spoon and I'm going to create an ombre effect. I'm gonna take a little tiny bit here, just on the tip, and I'm going to kind of dust it over the top, just like that. And then I'm going to be taking my award for best nails goes to, and I'm gonna be going kind of bringing it together in the middle there, just like that. Now, if you didn't notice, I didn't cure this. So my powder perfection is going to stick to my gel color. So I'm going to tap off the excess and I'm going to cure this in my dual cure lamp for 60 seconds. Like I said earlier, we can change the timing. So best part about this, I put it in my Tupperware lid and then I go, oh, wow, it's all clean and ready for our next step. But I'm also going to be cleansing my hands. I have a paper towel here ready. Just get some of the extra dust off of my hand there. So when we take the tip out of the lamp after curing for 30 seconds, there's going to be some leftovers on my nail, like leftover on Destined to Be a Legend, and I don't want to leave that. So I'm going to be taking a lint-free nail wipe and some NAS 99. I'm going to give it a couple spritzes here. And I'm going to be removing any of the residue that's left over on the nail. So when I take this out, the powder perfection is going to stick only to the nail art and not to the base coat or the base color. So let's pull this guy out here. I'll show you. See, oh, she's flipped upside down. I'm sorry. But see how award for best nails goes to is kind of stained there. Can't really notice it with You Sing, Act, Dance, and Produce because it's similar shade. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cleanse over top, kind of removing any of that excess, get that nice and clean. I'm just going to lift it up so I can kind of get in the grooves there. And then when I'm all done cleansing, I have left my beautiful ombre, powder perfection, and gel color ocean waves. So all three nail art looks, what do we think? We have our Malibu ocean waves or our Santa Monica ocean waves. We had our, let me get in the center. There we go. We have our Walk of Fame and we have our palm trees. What do we think? I think that is a really cool representation of Hollywood, especially with my experience. So if anyone has any questions about these nail art looks, please feel free to put them in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today and happy anniversary to OPI. Bye, everyone.